Hey, happy Friday. This week we're trying out a new format where we put the big news stories in the beginning and the brief at the end. Let me know how you like it, and welcome to the Friday Checkout. This video was sponsored by my streaming service Nebula. Okay, for my first story of the week, HMD Global announced that it is now manufacturing versions of its Nokia XR21 phone in factories in Europe, and specifically in my home country of Hungary. This is a durability-focused phone that even has an IP69K rating, meaning that it is even rated to survive high-pressure hot water. It is primarily made for enterprise customers, and HMD says that making it in Europe should be particularly attractive for data security-conscious customers, though I bet that regular consumers in Europe might find this interesting too. HMD claims that it is the first company to build smartphones in Europe, but I don't think that's actually true. The German startup Carbon Mobile made its carbon fiber smartphones in Germany at the former Motorola factory, and the German brand Gigaset technically makes smartphones in Germany too. Still, I guess it's true that this is the first major brand making a phone in Europe, so it's still a pretty big deal. As we see global supply chains unwinding and companies onshoring and nearshoring manufacturing away from China again, I wonder if we will see more of this in the future, although we should of course keep in mind that we're only talking about simple assembly for Nokia for now. Okay, for my second story of the week, we have to talk about Google's big new Pixel launch event. I checked out the devices for myself, and my take overall is that Google is finally feeling really confident about its Pixel line. So Android 14 technically also got launched at this event, although it literally only got 14 seconds of airtime during a 60-minute event, and it only seemed to be a minor refresh. The biggest software news instead was that the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro will now both get 7 years of OS updates. That is fantastic, and with other brands like Samsung and Xiaomi also committing to really long support cycles, the whole issue of Android phones not getting updates is slowly becoming a non-issue. Another weird thing that happened at the event is that Google said basically nothing about the new Tensor G3's CPU, GPU, wireless modem, power consumption, etc., which were all problems on the two previous generations, and instead they only talked about its vastly improved AI capabilities. These phones are presented as basically AI machines now. There's a boatload of new camera AI magic, like the ability to completely change and basically fake photos in retrospect, the ability to change people's expressions from a burst shot, like how you could do on a Nokia Lumia 1020 by the way. There are new AI audio tricks that let you split a recording into its components, like speech, crowd, and noise, so you can filter out the ones that you don't want. Google Assistant now includes Bart to let you use generative AI on your phone, and a whole lot more. The hardware on these phones seems nicely refined, with a brighter screen on both devices, a temperature sensor on the Pro, which seems really handy, as well as a really nice compact size on the non-Pro. But what surprised me the most are actually the prices. In the US, we saw price increases of $100 each on both models to $699 and $999, while other markets got even bigger price jumps, plus these are still the 128 gig models for some reason, so you will probably have to pay even more than that. Now, the phones looked and felt really nice, but it means that with these price increases, especially keeping in mind that other companies like Apple didn't increase prices this year and even dropped them in countries like Germany, this means that the Google Pixel line is suddenly no longer a budget option and is just kind of in line with everything else. At this very event, Google actually proudly boasted about them being the only Android brand that has grown in the last few quarters despite the massive smartphone downturn, so clearly they think that they have finally established themselves on the market. I think that they have consciously sold at a discount in the past to establish the brand, but now that they have gotten there, or at least they think they have gotten there, they want to be on equal terms with the likes of Samsung. Okay, and for my third story of the week, Microsoft CEO Satya was testifying during the big Google antitrust lawsuit, and that gave us lots of juicy quotes. This includes Nadella admitting to Bing actually being worse than Google. He claims that this is because Google, being big, lets them hoover up way more data, which then makes them even bigger, and that creates a vicious cycle that Microsoft can never hope to catch up to. And he claims that Apple picking Google as its default search engine is actually a death blow for Bing. Nadella said that that defaults are the only thing that mattered in terms of changing user behavior, and so he claims that they have promised basically anything to Apple to pick them, including hiding the Bing brand or adopting whatever Apple's privacy wishes are. But Apple said no, and apparently they only use Bing as a bargaining chip against Google. Well, actually the Wall Street Journal reports that Apple considered buying Bing once, but that failed. An Apple executive reportedly claimed that Bing was incremental negotiating leverage against Google, using them to drive up the price, while a Microsoft executive said that it's no secret that Apple is making more money on Bing existing than Bing does itself. Now, of course, Microsoft is incentivized to make this situation look as bad as they can for themselves, but ouch. Oh, and this meme that I found in the comment section of a Verge article by a commenter called P. Bushkov, absolutely fantastic. Okay, and surprise, we also have a fourth story this week, which is all the things Samsung announced at their Samsung Developer Conference just yesterday. So there was the usual sprinkle of boring updates to, I don't know, SmartThings and Knox and Bixby, but you and I and possibly no one else is here for those. Instead, One UI 6 got announced, and for the most part, it's basically a facelift. There's a new quick panel, which I think looks pretty nice, but it also reminds me of Apple's UI. Then there's a brand new font called One UI Sans, which I actually find pretty nice, and there are lots of other little design tweaks. Passkey support was added for anyone using Samsung Pass, and what I personally liked the most was a new app called Samsung Studio. It's an actual decent looking video editing app with multiple layers and all. You know, I was just telling my researcher Tristan, I think like a week ago, that I don't understand why somebody doesn't do this, like Google or Samsung. Because if you think about it, everyone's pushing Android to become kind of like a pro platform, something that you'd use on a bigger screen with like more productivity apps and whatever, with decks and bigger tablets and whatever. So you want to have more pro apps. And one of the obvious glaring things missing from the Android platform is a really nice video editor. So I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. Besides that, there are also two announcements that I did not expect at this conference, the first of which is Samsung Food, an AI-powered food service that connects your Samsung kitchen devices with Samsung Health data to figure out what you should eat, and it helps you create and adjust and track recipes. I usually really doubt Samsung's ability to build a really nice service like this. I think it's just not really in their DNA, but in this case, they actually are probably the only company that has the entire chain necessary to make it work. They have a smart fridge, a smart oven, microwave oven, phone, smartwatch, health tracking platform, everything. So maybe. And finally, we've learned that Samsung's Tizen platform now runs on 350 million devices, including even TVs from competitors that it licenses them to. The platform is expanding to more smart home devices now. It can now officially run on RISC-V chips, and it also has on-device AI, so your vacuum cleaner or whatever can gain sentience and lock you out of your own home. Good times. And now onto the brief with many little stories. You know how iPhone 15 Pro users were complaining about their phones overheating? Well, this week, Apple confirmed that they aren't crazy and said that the problem was caused by a software issue in iOS 17 that let third-party apps like Instagram refresh too much in the background. And Apple has apparently since issued a hotfix. That's a literal hotfix. Let's see if it works. And talking of hot Apple stuff, the first generation Apple Watches from 2015 are now completely obsolete, including the $17,000 Gold Edition watch. Their software updates have long ended, but now you can also no longer get repairs, updates, or service. But I guess you can still wear it as a bracelet. Next, Samsung released all of its new Fan Edition devices, and for a change, it actually tried to make some fans by dropping its prices. The S23 FE is now $599 rather than the $699 that Samsung charged for the Galaxy S21 FE, while the tablet is now just $449, down from the $529 from its predecessor, and the buds are just $99 too. Given the budget prices, you do have to make some concessions, like the phone using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, or the tablet getting an LCD screen, but at least these are clear budget options now that don't look half bad. Next, Samsung also announced the Galaxy Smart Tag 2, which goes on sale next week for just $30. Frustratingly, these still only work with Samsung devices, but they do have a much slimmer design with a bigger loop and a bigger battery. And then also this week, Leica announced a new instant film camera, the Leica Sofort 2, for $389, which is a hybrid, which actually takes pictures with a digital sensor, and then you can choose the photos that you actually want to print. Cool, I guess? And in annoying news, there are now hints that Netflix is planning to raise prices again, with a report suggesting that it will actually happen in just a few months. Ouch! And in awesome news, there's a new Nobel Prize that's actually relevant to people like us who like consumer tech. Specifically, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded for quantum dot technologies, which are becoming an increasingly important part of display technologies all over the world. Nice. Okay, and now I bet you are thinking, what on earth am I gonna be watching next? And I'll tell you. How about a 17-minute video essay about the logistics of coal mining? No? Then maybe a deep dive into how Las Vegas was actually designed to lure in the kids. Or maybe the new season finale of my favorite Red Atoms series discussing the Soviet nuclear program. These are just the last few Nebula originals that dropped on the platform, and the amount of really high-quality video essays on Nebula is growing every day. Nebula is our very own video streaming service, built and owned by hundreds of the best educational creators, and it's filled both with loads of platform-exclusive originals, but also our regular videos, ad-free and often early access, plus even Nebula classes. If you like smart content from really thoughtful creators, this is the best place to get that. Our originals are only made possible because of the generous funding of Nebula subscribers, like you yourself could be as well, and I made over a dozen Nebula exclusive bonus videos, plus a whole 8-part Nebula original series called Technorama as well. I think this is the cleanest business model in the industry. You give us money, and in exchange we give you more and better content. No ads, no tracking, nothing else, just good content made with genuine care. If you use my link, which you can find down in the description, you will even get an annual subscription for just $30 a year. That is $20 off versus signing up using a generic link, so be sure to use my link when you sign up, and that way they also know that I sent you. Alright, I hope to see you on Nebula. Bye!